Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. Welcome to Wonderful Wednesday. This is a weekly series that I do here on my YouTube channel. We follow a schedule of tutorials. The first Wednesday of the month, we do the tag of the month, followed by the banner of the month, and then the birthday card of the month. And this is the fourth week in May, so it is time for us to do our flower tutorial of the month. And this month we are making Heartfelt Creations Magnolia blooms, these beautiful, delicate little pink flowers. I'm going to show you how to make them, and I'm going to introduce you to a brand new collection from Country Craft Creations called Tea for Two. I fell in love with this the minute I saw it, had to have it. So if you'd like to learn about all these things and learn how to make these pretty posies, stick around. So what are we making? Well, we're going to make this really beautiful shaker card. This is a 5x7 shaker card with our flower array. I've mixed pre-made flowers with handmade flowers. That's one of my favorite things to do. A sweet little spoon filled with glitter glass from Renee Bouquets and some of her beautiful beads. A little dangle charm with a tea bag and a teapot, and this fussy cut image from the paper collection, and a really great big beautiful 4x6 shaker window. On the inside, I've dressed the card all up with more of the patterned papers. Down here I created a border joined together with this little fussy cut sentiment. And here in the pocket, we've got a decorated honey stick and a beautiful little tea wallet with a tea bag, and then a sweet little note card with a border, enough room to write on both sides. I will link to all of these supplies on my blog, and I'll put the link to my blog in the description box below this video so that you can find these supplies if you would like to make them as well. Now, Heartfelt Creations has stopped selling their stamps and dies, but a lot of you will have these magnolias in your stash. And if you don't, you can find them a lot of times. If you just do a Google search, you can find someone who's selling their stash of them, or you can find them like on Etsy or eBay. All right, friends, what are we using? Well, we're going to make our flowers with Heartfelt Creations Sweet Magnolia Blooms. I have the stamp set, which has 3 different sizes of petals and 2 sizes of the leaves. And I have the matching die, which cuts them out very quickly and easily. And then I also have the shaping mold. So I love these because they're quick and easy. I put my stamped and inked up flowers in there upside down, you know, like stamped side down. Then I spritz it with a little water. You put the cover over it and you run it through your die cutting machine. Super easy. For the paper collection, I did a bad thing. I saw this and I was like, oh, I have to have it. This is from Country Craft Creations. It's Tamra Merrill's shop, online shop, and she also has a brick and mortar in Utah. And this is her design. It's called Tea for Two. It comes with these wonderful cut apart pages, and then these image and border pages. I mean, really, I just swooned when I saw this. So there's 3 of each of the patterns. There's 2 of the image, all right, and there's 3 of the patterns. Gorgeous, gorgeous colors, really elegant patterns, perfect for a tea theme collection. Lots of little images you can fussy cut, great background pieces. I mean, you could just go in and fussy cut around this teacup and diamond and you would have an instant focal for your card or scrapbook layout. This wonderful, gorgeous teapot and teacup. Again, you could cut around the teacup and there's your focal. Trim around these corner pieces and you're good to go. Here's a beautiful script over a toile. Cake and teacups, so cute. Can you see why I had to have this? Because y'all know how I feel about tea. And these are my colors, a beautiful birthday cake. I mean, just stunning, really. And I love how this looks embossed. This is really cool. This looks embossed, but it's not. More teacups and cups and teapots and cakes with this all over damask print. And then this really cool tea jar and teacup. This is a little wild for me, but I like the teacups, so I'll probably use that. But this, you know, sort of a daisy print. But anyway, that's the paper collection. I also used Heartfelt Creations specialty flower shaping paper to make my flowers, and then of course some cardstock and stuff, bits and bobs, buttons and embellishments from my stash. So stick around, the tutorial comes up next, and I'll show you how to make these flowers. All right, friends, let's get started making these beautiful magnolias. I've brought in all 3 sizes of my Heartfelt Creations Magnolia Blossom dies, and I'm going to ink these up with some Distress Oxide ink. I like to use Distress Oxide on my stamps. This is Tattered Rose, which is the lightest color in the pink family. I just want to make sure I get all these little veins, good coverage, so that they show up well. And I've got this on my stamp platform. I've got the Heartfelt Creations flower shaping specialty paper underneath, and I'm just going to give this some good pressure like that and lift, and that looks great to me. Now I'm going to bring in some clear embossing powder. And I'm just going to cover this with my clear embossing powder. That's the other nice thing about using Distress Oxide ink for this, is that it has a larger open time. All that means is that it stays wet longer. All these fancy pants words that we use, they all mean something really simple. And then I'm just going to heat emboss this with my heat gun. A little tip, always preheat so that it's nice and hot, and then just move it around until you'll see it'll go from flat to kind of glossy. Can you see that? This is one I've already done. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. Now we're going to make some foliage, and I'm going to use the leaf dies that come with this set. I'm just going to pick them up. I'm inking them with peeled paint, Distress Oxide, because Magnolia leaves have that beautiful deep green. Now here's what's great about using a stamp platform. I can set this leaf down. I can set this leaf down. I can pick it up. And when I come back, I'm going to go right over that. It's going to hold the place for me so I don't end up with, you know, a bad shadow. But I can just do them all at once, and the open time on this ink also allows for that. So that's just a nice thing about using a stamp platform. Unless you're better at lining things up than I am, this works really well for me. So I'm going to do the same thing, clear embossing powder, heat emboss. Now I'm going to go ahead and color these, and that is why I do the clear embossing powder, because as you know, Distress ink reacts with water, and I didn't want my lines to get blurred, which is so I went ahead and heat embossed. So I'm going to I put my craft sheet out here because it's just easier to clean up than the silicone mat, and I'm going to put some Victorian velvet down. I know that's hard to see. And I'm going to put some sponge sugar down. I want very light color. And I'm just going to mist this with a mister bottle until those little beads form. And then I'm just going to dip and tap my flowers into my ink. And I don't want heavy coverage here. I just want like some almost like blushing color, all right? And I like the way that's looking. I'm going to repeat. Get all of this up, as much of it as I can. I'm going to repeat this for the other sheet, because always make more flowers than you think you're going to need for your project. You can put them in little plastic boxes and save them. So let's put this down. Yeah, I think that's all I want. There may be a little bit more up here in that corner, a little bit more in this corner. So now what I'm going to do, I want to get also the back, because when you're shaping flowers, a lot of times you turn the edges. So I'm just going to pretty heavily ink up the back. And I like to do this before I cut my flowers. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but I like to do this step before I cut them out, because I can do a bunch of them at one time. All right, so there's one. That's good. There's two. All right, just clean this off. And we're going to do the same thing with our leaves. I've brought in crushed olive, and I brought in forest moss, because magnolia leaves have that wonderful deep shiny green. All right. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. And I like to mix my colors, because if you look at leaves in real life, they're not just one color. They're not just green like they made you do in kindergarten, right? And I'm also going to get the backs of these. All right. Nice, those look beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to take these over to my die cutting machine. I'm just going to show you very quickly how I line up my dies. So I finished a couple of these. After I die cut them, I put them right through the shaping mold, which adds all the little pinched parts and raises the petals. So they're very easy to put together. I'm going to show you how to do that. I've also got some leaves drying over here. So I like to have two on the bottom, and you can see how these have been shaped by the shaping mold. So that's a really awesome thing. This one's going to be on the bottom. This one's going to be on the top. I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to stagger my petals like this. And then you can kind of lift them a little more. I'm holding my thumb in the middle there. You can pinch them. You can use this end of your tool if the petals are still a little bit damp. And you can roll in to give it like a more lifelike look. You know how petals, the outer petals a lot of times roll in, and that's why we color the bottom side as well as the top side. So I'm just putting it in that little slit, and I'm just rolling that petal in, and then I press it back. Well, that's a pretty one. The fun thing is they never turn out the same way twice. So I'm going to leave this one big, just like that. I'm going to take my, getting ahead of myself, I've got my Nouveau mousse. This color is Toasted Almond. I think they've got this color still, but they've changed the name. But you just want something that's kind of light. I'm spritzing it with a little bit of water and picking up with my paintbrush. And now I'm just going to come in and I'm going to coat these petals because magnolias have those wonderful waxy blossoms. And this does a pretty good job of mimicking that. And I know these don't look exactly like magnolias, but they're sure pretty flowers. So I'm okay with not being able to perfectly replicate. All right. So see, I've just painted. I'm just picking up and I'm brushing until it has the shine level I want. And the neat thing is that also activates that distress ink again. So I'm going to take my hot glue. I'm going to put it right down in the center, like that. I've got these really beautiful beads from Rene Bouquets. And I'm just going to stick that into that hot glue and let that dry. And see how pretty that is? Now we're going to make a smaller one. Same technique. We're going to, lost my stat, there it is, okay. Just a dab of hot glue here. And then this is going to be staggered like this. Press that in. A good pinch. So this one, maybe I'm going to do like this so that it looks like a bud. So I'm just pressing the reverse and cupping. And see how I'm just kind of folding that together. I'm going to take just the tiniest dab of hot glue right here to encourage those leaves to stay together. And then another little dab right here. Just holding that for a second. And I want just a tiny little dab right there. Okay. Now I can come in with my dauber and my Victorian Velvet Distress Ink. And the buds are always darker looking than the flower once it's blossomed. And I'm just going to get along these edges, nice and dark. Look how pretty this is. So this is beautiful to tuck in. Then we're going to do our same thing. We're going to pick up our Nouveau mousse. I'm going to add that waxy finish. Spray that just a little bit more. And with the Nouveau mousse, if you take it out a lot of times, it looks like it's dry and no good. All you have to do is spritz it with water and it will come right back for you. Look how pretty that is. Okay, so that's going to go in. I'm going to tip these out just the tiniest bit so it looks like it's almost wanting to open. Okay. Okay, so that goes over there. And then these two, if you wanted to add more color, you just press into the center. Oops, I used the green one. Well, that was a mistake, but I kind of like the way it looks actually, so I'm not going to worry about that. This we're just going to make into a small bloom. And put our glue in the center. Because it's good to have varied sizes. I'm just going to press that. So this one's looking like it's just opening. Okay. Nouveau Mousse. Hot glue in the center. Pick up this last bead. I actually want this really creamy side. I'm going to tuck it down in there. There. See how pretty that is? All right, so there's our flowers. The leaves are a really similar process. You put them in the mold. It's going to shape them. These I've curled some edges on. These are still pretty wet, so I'm just going to let them dry off a little bit. But, you know, I just like to come in, roll those edges. And you can press the back side to reshape. You can see I hit some of these with ink. So these are drying. I'm going to clean up, wash my hands, and then we'll put this card together. All right, friends, here's my card front. So now I want to go ahead and bring in our flowers. And I'm going to start, I always like to start with what I call my anchor flower. And I've added leaves to the back. And I want to put this right here. And then because I want to bring in some of these aquas, I've got this little birdie flower. I think this is from their Songs of the Sea collection. And I've got this other little blue flower that I want to put right here behind our Magnolia. Then we're going to bring in this small flower. It kind of looks like the one on the cup. And I'm going to put this right here. And I want a couple little leaves in there as well. So just tuck these in place. There we go. All right. And then at the top, I've got this other small peony that I mean magnolia that I want to kind of tuck in at an angle. It's nice sometimes to change the direction and the color and the shape of your flowers. I think it adds a lot of interest to a card. I've got one more leaf. I'm going to tuck in here. And then these are old petaloo. I think these were called Lily of the Valley. And I want to tuck this in. Oops. Yeah. Just at the top. See how that adds that really nice little touch? And I want to tuck another one in down here. All right. So we've got this nice curved shape that the eye likes to follow. I'm going to put the rest of my leaves and the rest of my magnolias away for another day. I've tied a bow with Peacock Alley seam binding. And I'm going to snug this in under my magnolia, my anchor flower. Just kind of adjust things so that they're going the way that they should. There we go. This is looking really pretty. And then I've got some baker's twine that I also want to add in there. I love adding textures, different textures, and this kind of, and I'll fluff that after the, so there's our cover. That is really pretty. And just very simply, the title says Tea, which is nice. The shaker elements inside are super pretty. Those are all buttons galore and more. I combined several different collections. And here's our card base. It's a 5x7 top fold. Inside, I just used the designer paper, created a little border here, fussy cut one of the little elements. On the bottom, we've got a pocket with a little note card. This is double-sided. I used one of the border pieces here and a little fussy cut. The tiny fussy cuts are from the cover of the paper collection. This is one of the cut apart images. Down here, the border with this. I created a little envelope with my envelope punch and put a little tea bag in there. And this Bristol paper is so nice because it just holds its shape. You don't have to, it will stay closed. I don't have to worry about that. So that's going to go in there. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to bring in my adhesive and I'm going to add this to the card front. And that is going to complete this wonderful Wednesday Flower of the Month tutorial with Heartfelt Creations, Magnolia Blooms, and Country Craft Creations Tea Time. There we go. I like the white border. It kind of lightens everything up. I don't usually do white borders on my cards, but I felt like this one needed it, so I did it. And that's it for me, Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. Make sure you give this video a like, share it, subscribe to the channel so you can join in on all the fun. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me hear from you in the comments section below. And I'll be back next Wednesday with a Wild Card Wednesday. Thanks, friends. Have a good day. Go get your craft on. Bye.